And at the fall, we have the Mid-Autumn Festival. Like this is my mission here, promoting the Mid-Autumn Festival here. You can see here, this is a post we did last year for the Mid-Autumn Festival. Because of the pandemic, we have to cancel our Mid-Autumn Festival Gala, like we host every semester. Now we probably planning doing some like Zoom meeting, Mid-Autumn celebration, something like singing competition. That's probably the thing we only can do on the Zoom. Here's some picture we did last year for our Mid-Autumn festivals. As you can see, we have lots of like traditional dancing. Also, we have urban dancing, like singing. Also, we have an international band. After all the performance, we also have some food, which is provided by this China Super Buffet. So you guys may be wondering, what is the Mid-Autumn Festival? Like for us, is means family reunion and peace. The festival is celebrated when the moon is believed to be the biggest one and the fullest one. For us, the symbolic meaning for the full moon is like prosperity, happiness, and a family reunion. Here's some history for the Mid-Autumn festivals. As you can see, this thing is like start like 3,000 years ago. Earliest written record is like in the Han Dynasty, probably like 2,000 years ago. And it got popular in Tang Dynasty, which was probably the reason because we have something to eat, like mooncakes, eating at the Tang Dynasties. And it's become an official public holiday in China since 2008. It is important as the New Year's Day in China too. All right, so how we celebrate the Mid-Autumn festivals? Like we do, because the Mid-Autumn Festival falls on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month, usually in the late September to the early October, which will have the full moon at night. So many traditional and meaningful celebrations are held in the most households in China and China's neighboring countries. The main tradition and the celebration including eating mooncakes, having dinner with family. Also, right now we can watch some like TV show for celebrating the Moon Festival, and someone may like lighting the lanterns. Okay. All right. Here are some like very popular mooncakes like flavors in China. I know there's 10 populars. I found these are very nice, but except I don't know, like for the Uren mooncake, it sounds like tastes funny, but many people like it, but I'm not. I like the red bean mooncake and like salted egg yolk. Like some people putting the white lotus and the salted egg yolk together, like the things Jesse's show gonna do this. Also, the snow skin is a very good one too. Also, some American company like Starbucks, Haagen-Dazs, they make these mooncakes in China in the specific seasons, like in the September and October. I really don't have much chance to try it because those months are always at the USA. So I think this is all my slides. Thank you guys for listening. I think the stage is for Jesse's cooking show for the mooncake.
Right, thank you so much, Wenyi. That's very nice of you to giving us so many pictures about different kinds of mooncakes. It looks so delicious. And now I'm gonna transition to Chef Jesse. So he's gonna make the lotus filling with the salted egg yolk mooncake today. So Jesse, it's your turn.
All right, thanks, Young. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Globe Kitchen. It kind of sounds like mooncakes in the fall. It's similar to our pumpkin spice here. They have a million different varieties that for people to try in Starbucks even. That's crazy. So as Yang and Wenyi said, we're going to do a lotus seed and salted duck egg mooncake. So basically a mooncake is a pastry that has a good amount of filling in it. It's mostly filling. So here's our lotus seeds. These I boiled off earlier today, and I made our filling from scratch. You can also get this pre-made in the Asian store, but they were out because I assume other families, other people are making this at home too. So these are the lotus seeds. I got them dried at the Asian store, and down here we've got these salted duck eggs, and actually they're just the yolks. So they salt the whole egg and then they remove the white, and it's basically like preserved, although these were in the freezer. And so you're gonna have to, if you're gonna make this, you're gonna have to head to a local Asian store and get some of these kind of more exotic ingredients you're not gonna be able to get at Publix. But it's gonna be well worth it. These are really delicious little cakes when you make them at home. If you buy them, one thing about them is they're very expensive. And so, you know, I'm always excited to learn how to make something expensive. You know, one day I might be able to turn a profit, but these, you know, are really pretty easy to make. The dough, I'm gonna show you how to make it, is really forgiving. And, you know, I think there's a conception or an idea that these are really hard to make. And so you have to, you know, purchase them. And this was my first time making them, so I was a little nervous, honestly, but it was really pretty easy and really fun too. So I could see where families would get together and make this and then share them with other families in their community. And so, all right, let's get into this. Right in front of me here, we've got our ingredients for the dough. Most of these ingredients we'll be able to get at Publix. There's this golden syrup, and it's kind of specific. This is like actually an English product, but the deal is it's a partially inverted sugar, and so it's going to create a really tender, soft dough. And you could also use honey, but you're not going to get the same flavor. Basically, this is just like a caramelized sugar syrup. And you can take a look at it there. And you could also make this at home by caramelizing sugar and water together. You boil it, and then you add a little bit of lemon juice. And that lemon juice, the acid, is what helps invert the sugar and keeps it from crystallizing and makes it suitable for this. So you can buy that at Publix, a couple bucks, or you can make it. We've got a little bit of oil, so 60 grams here. The other thing about this recipe is it's very specific. So the best way to do it is to weigh it on a digital scale. I updated the recipe after I did this so that I measured out the weights that I did in volume. And so you can also do it by volume, but it's definitely best to be exact with the measurement on the digital scale. Your dough will come out perfect every time. So it's 60 grams of the golden syrup, or about 2 tablespoons. And it's about the same for the oil. It's just a plain vegetable oil. 24 grams of oil, but about the same volume, about 2 tablespoons. And then we've got cake flour. And this is some Swan's Down, just some white cake flour. It has a low gluten content, so it's going to be very tender when you bite into it. It's not going to give you any kind of chewiness or anything like that, like a bread flour would or an all-purpose flour would. You can get this at Publix too. And this is 100 grams, or about 3/4 cup. And so this is the other ingredient you're gonna have to get from the Asian store. It's called Lye Water. And it's also known as kansui. And basically it's a high alkaline solution that is going to react with whatever gluten is in this flour, and it's really going to keep it from creating those stretchy bonds, and it's, you know, gonna help really tenderize this dough. So let's just mix this up first thing. You want to get a medium-sized bowl, and I'm going to use my small one. We're going to get all this liquid ingredients in the bowl first. There we go. The oil. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of this kansui, and you want to be really careful with this. Steady hand. Just a 1/4 teaspoon. We don't want to add too much because this is not something you want to eat a lot of. It will also ruin the flavor and the texture if you put too much in there. So just, it's considered like a dough conditioner. If you ever look at the ingredients on like commercial bread and stuff, it'll say, it'll have ingredients that's like dough conditioner. It's mostly some kind of alkaline solution that they'll add to it to help treat the gluten in the bread so it is nice and tender, usually like sandwich bread, that kind of thing. All right, so here's our liquid ingredients. Let's add a little bit of flour. I'm gonna add probably about a quarter there just to start. We're gonna get it mixed in. There we go. All right, that's going good. We're gonna just put it all in now. All right, so this dough we're gonna mix up by hand for just a minute. We don't really want to knead it so much as just get it fully incorporated with the liquid ingredients. And then after it's incorporated, you need to wrap it in plastic wrap and then put it in the fridge so it firms up slightly. It's a very soft dough. No leavening, no baking soda, none of that stuff. Just the oil, the sugar syrup, and the kansui. All right, here we go. All right, so a lot of that flour is mixed in. We're still gonna mix it. I see some dry spots still. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna wrap that in plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge. Let me see, I'll grab mine out real quick. And you can see where it's firmed up slightly. So it's gonna be a little more easy to handle and roll out because we're gonna roll this dough out very thin. Okay, so back onto our filling here. Here's some dried lotus seeds. The way to handle these, and it comes in little 6-ounce packages. And these are very expensive. This is considered a luxury ingredient in China. These, just for a 6-ounce package, it's about $5, $5+. And so you soak them overnight and then you boil them for about a half hour. And they swell up quite a bit and they smell kind of like garbanzo beans. They kind of have a garbanzo or chickpea kind of texture even. And then you're going to want to take them and you're going to split them and take these little sprouts out of them. These are pretty bitter, so you want to try to get as many of those out as possible. And after you boil them, oh, here's some more of these sprouts. Boil them, you strain them off, get these little sprouts out. Here, I'm going to get a couple more out here. Then we're going to blend them in the food processor. One thing I did that I didn't read online is that I put it all through a strainer once I blended it and got out all these little kind of skins and the extra little sprouts and anything that wasn't nice kind of white bean paste. And I've got a picture I want to show you all. This is what the lotus flower looks like in China. And so you see the seed pod in the middle. That's where they harvest those seeds from. It's an aquatic plant, grows in lakes and kind of, slow moving creeks, that kind of thing. And surprising enough, we've got a version of this flower in the States too. There's an American lotus and it grows all around here. I've seen on hikes some really beautiful ponds all around Tallahassee filled with the American lotus, and it pretty much looks exactly like the Chinese lotus except for it's bright yellow. And when I was reading about it, it was a really important food for Native Americans. They would eat the seeds. Every single part of the plant is edible. They would eat the seeds. They would eat the root, and the root is very similar to the Asian variety too, which is eaten as like a vegetable, basically. And it says, I've never cooked with these or really used these, so I was really interested to learn more about them. They're really somewhat popular in Indian cooking. They're called makhana. There's even a makhana curry, so where they have like a curry kind of gravy with these lotus seeds instead of chickpeas, instead of a chickpea masala. So anyways, these are really cool. I'm really excited to learn about them. And I'm going to use them for some different stuff in the future for sure. But all right, let's get on to this paste here. So we're going to blend these up real quick.
So I have some questions for you, Chef Jesse.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yes. So first one is, so what part of lotus are we using today? Can you say that again?
Yeah, so these are this is the Chinese lotus seeds, and so yeah, this is a product of China, and so these are the Chinese ones. I'm interested in to see what the difference is between them, if there is much of a difference. I would like to go out and harvest some of our American ones and try them side by side, because what I think is that they're going to be very, very similar. They're, from what I read about them, they're not really full of like vitamins and like, you know, micronutrients, but they have a lot of oil. So I kind of think of them as more similar to like sunflower seeds, where they'll press sunflower seeds for their oil. And it's also like a, you know, a flower head with a ton of seeds in it. And so they're highly nutritious in terms of their calories. And so there's, you know, there's a lot of oil in them, fair amount of starch. One cool recipe I saw is that you can bake them and they turn out kind of like popcorn. They puff up and they're crunchy and they're real tasty. All right, so I added some more water to this. We're gonna pulse it a couple more times. All right, I'm gonna have to scrape this down.
I'm just passing over the message from Tanu. Lotus is also India's national flower.
Oh, wow, very cool.
Thank you, Tanu.
Is the lotus in India pink or is it yellow? I don't know. She should know.
It's pink. Yeah, I'm
It's
waiting
pink. Okay.
for you to text me back. It's pink. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tanu, for your prompt reply.
All right, so I'm going to blend this a little more. This is such a big food processor. It's kind of easier to do it with more of these seeds. What I'll do with what I got here. We're going to add about a cup of powdered sugar, and the powdered sugar is important. It's going to melt into it, and then it has cornstarch in it. So when we cook it again, it's going to help thicken it up. I'm going to add that. Then we're going to add oil to this too. So we're going to add about a half cup, but I'm going to pour it in as it's blending. Okay, actually pour it on the stove after we get it out of here. All right, so you're going to want to have a saute pan, stainless steel, and then you're going to pour out your blended up lotus. And this one would definitely need to be strained at some point to get some of this green little stems out of there, because I did get some extras in there. And you're going to cook it on medium heat. And then you're just going to add the oil in here, actually, and in like a few different steps. So you bring it up to a boil, add your oil, cook it down some, add the oil, and eventually it will thicken up. And once you get all the oil in and it thickens up into a thick paste, that's you pull it off and you refrigerate it. Okay. I'm gonna add a little more once that gets in there.
So, Jesse, is there a way that if we don't have the food processor, is there a way that we can make some as you made?
You could use a blender, a stick blender. If you have to add extra water, go ahead, because you can just boil it out when you're cooking it on the stove like this. It's fine to add extra water.
I see.
As long as your cooking time is going to be longer. Okay. All right, so we're just stirring in this oil. And it seems like a lot of oil, but it all absorbs in there and it helps create this thick paste. Kind of like, sort of like hummus. I wonder if you can make hummus with lotus seeds. And kind of dip with it and go savory. I'm sure you could. I'm definitely going to experiment in the future here. Okay. So yeah, keep stirring it, get that oil mixed in. There we go.
About what kind of oil we should use.
So actually, traditionally, I think it's lard. I think originally it was animal fat from pigs, but you know, more modern versions use peanut oil, so like a high saturated fat oil, or you know, even what I'm using here is just like plain vegetable oil, like you know, soybean oil, corn oil. You know, it's kind of up to your taste and what you would like to use. But we got to get it all stirred in here, so it's, keep mixing it, and it'll come together. There we go. We don't want it to brown. I got it on a high temp right now. I should turn it down, but you should be cooking this more medium. I'm just going fast, so I'm not doing it all day today. All right, you see it starting to thicken up now too? Yeah, there we go, starting to thicken up for sure. As that cornstarch heats up, it's gonna react with the water. And cornstarch activates when it's closer to boiling temperature. And so you can tell the paste is getting hotter for sure because it's thickening up. All right, and that oil has all absorbed now for the most part. We got a little bit. You got to stand and stir constantly. You can't leave this kind of thing either because it will start browning. There we go. So you can see little flecks of things in there, and so we could press this through just a sieve, a strainer, and all that would pass right through. All the good stuff would, and all the bad stuff would stay on the other side. All right, so there you go. You would cook it a little bit more than that. You'd want it to be a little more thick. And I'll show you what the end product should be here. So you can see it's kind of oily and it's thick. You can form it into a ball. It's going to stay into a ball shape. Yeah, so you want it to be a nice firm paste.
It's actually not that fluidy, right? It's actually very shaped.
Yes. Yeah, it should not be fluid at all. And once it cools down, it does firm up slightly. All right, so let's move this over. I'm going to clean my surface real quick. All right, so the other thing we have to work with here is a mold. So the cool part about mooncakes is they're so decorative. They look so pretty and they have special meaning to their designs in them. And Yang, what was this one about?
Wedding, I think.
This is about wedding, yeah. So there's like 2 hearts. And this is a pretty large mold, and it's wooden. It's about 3.5 inches wide. It's only about 1 inch deep. And so these duck eggs are kind of tough to fit in here. So I'm gonna cut these in half. You can go onto Amazon, you can go into other Asian stores, and you can see different versions. There's plastic molds that are little cylinders, and they're more tall. So they're more like 2.5 inches tall, 3 inches tall, and they're only 2 inches in diameter. So they're more tall than they are round. And that way you can fit 1 or 2 yolks into the filling rather than cutting them in half. So maybe this mold was meant for just like a lotus face filling. I'm not sure, but I got it to work with cutting the yolks in half, and I think that worked pretty well. So be careful what you choose in your design. You might want to ask what it means. What are some of the other designs out there? What are some of the other messages on mooncakes out there?
Like they putting what's the inside outside, like red bean, or what's the taste of the mooncake, and they will put it on those.
Okay,
fruit.
so the flavor would be, so it would say like red bean or
Yeah.
So yeah, here's this. I got some bean paste just to show you all this too. If you didn't want to have to make your own paste, you could get red bean paste. It's definitely going to be more sweet, but it sounds like it's pretty typical to use bean paste too, red bean paste.
So some mooncakes also, they have the mode of like fu, which means luck. So it's the mode you got, it means marriage is still like passing the happiness and luck to everyone. So it's still good. Good choice.
Yeah, I was lucky. I just grabbed one and I was like, all right, sweet, I found one. Lucked out.
I think the one you had is like a special edition. Probably it's only for like someone getting married on the Mid-Autumn Festival.
Okay, cool. So this could be specifically for a wedding then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's pull our dough out of the plastic wrap. I've got some extra flour here. I'm gonna tap out onto the table. And then we're just gonna do a light coating on this so it doesn't stick to the table right now. And this big mold, this dough only actually makes 4. So I'm gonna cut it into quarters the best I can. The smaller ones, supposedly this recipe would make 10 of the smaller ones. So, and then we're going to gently roll these into balls. Oh, that one's a little bit bigger than this one, that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Okay. Now, we're going to take our lotus seed paste. And so this one is very large. So I need this to be able to spread out and fill this up. So I think I'm gonna add a little bit more. I'm going more like racquetball size. But I think for the small ones, it's more golf ball size. And this is just kind of trial and error. Once you get all your ingredients and, assembled, you're gonna have to, the first one you make probably isn't gonna be quite right, but you just keep trying, make your little adjustments, and then you'll get there. All right, so I've got my bowl and I've got kind of a hollow area in the middle. I'll take my duck yolk, cut it in half. And then I'm gonna place this into the middle and wrap that around it. I'll make a couple more real quick. I'm gonna try to make a few of these for y'all to see the whole process of how to roll the dough out and get it all coated and put through this mold. Now, yesterday, I had the great luck of not having it stick, and I'm hoping I can pull it off again today. Okay, let's do another one of these.
So I just want to introduce more about mooncake. When you feel free to jump in. So the mooncake, as far as what I ate so far, is all round shaped. Because in Chinese, we call that 月饼. It means the time that your families should gather together. So that's also one of the indications of like the mooncake is round shaped.
Like a moon.
Yeah, like a moon. Exactly. That's neat. Yes. So you should make it as round as possible and in a good shape.
Yeah. This one to me, it looks like it's like petals of a flower almost, with the little parts here. All right, so let's coat our dough. We've got 4 balls set here. Let's coat our dough with some flour, and this dough is very soft, so we are going to certainly have a good bit of flour on the table here because it will want to stick. So we're going to get it into a ball shape, and then we're going to roll it out gently Try to keep it nice and even, and we're going for a 1/4 inch thick here. Okay, which is very thin for a soft dough like this. So this is the tough part. Let me clear a little space here. And then we need to get this long enough so that we can wrap it all the way around that lotus seed ball. Okay, so we've got a nice rolled up, doesn't have to be perfectly circular, that's okay. We can work with this. And we're gonna wrap it up. And as we wrap it up, we're going to, if it rips apart, that's okay. We can stick it back together. But we are going to keep this, pinch this on the outside. So you keep the folds going outside. You don't want to try to fold the folds inside. You don't want to overlap these folds. It's kind of sticking a little bit here. It doesn't have to look pretty now, but the one nice thing about how soft this dough is that it is very forgiving. So once we get this on here, we'll be able to make it look pretty. The goal is just to get it on here without it all falling apart. Okay. Did we get it? Yeah. All right, so that looks like a mess right now, huh? But we're gonna go around, we're gonna pinch off these areas that are thick. And we are going to spread the dough over to seal it all up. We don't want any cracks, and so yeah, this is all folded over. We're gonna pull that off, fold it over, and we can spread this dough out. Okay. Once you get it sealed up, you just gently press the dough on there. If you see a spot where some filling is coming through, where it's extra thin, you can just add a little bit of that dough that you broke off. Very forgiving, but you got to get to this point first. And so we've got the yolk in the middle, the paste wrapped around the yolk, and then the dough wrapped around the paste in a 1/4 inch thick layer. Even. You want it to be even. It's also important. All right, so we're going to take a little bit of flour into our mold and just going to tap it out. And mostly is going to disappear there. So we can also take a little bit of flour here and lightly coat the dough ball.
So Jesse, does it matter what kind of flour it is?
Yeah, I'm using the cake flour. You can use all-purpose, and that's probably fine. But if you can get cake flour, it's definitely better texture. Yeah. All right, so we're going to actually, I messed around with this yesterday. So the best way is to gently start forming this with your hands, flattening it out. Yesterday, I tried to squash it just into a ball, or from a ball into the form, and the sides cracked a little bit. You can push them back together. We're going to gently press this into a disc, just big enough to fit into the inside of the form here. Then from there, we're going to press it into the mold. And yeah, this one's cracking a little bit, but that's okay. You can kind of see the yolk right underneath, right in the middle. That's great. And then quickly tap it out onto the baking sheet that you're going to bake it on. So
Looks nice.
yeah, there's a couple little cracks in here, but that's okay. I'm come in and kind of trim some of this, that so our petals look good. Then we've got a nice solid imprint there. That looks pretty nice. I think that's a pretty good one. Let's try it again. Okay, maybe a little less flour this time. I think There's a really delicate balance. If you put too much flour, it dries out the dough and then it tends to crack a little bit. But you need enough flour so that it doesn't stick. So with a little bit of practice.
I just want to comment on your cooking, Jesse. You make it so delicate, like an art. Like every time you trim the side and make it perfect, and you do those arts on the dessert.
Oops. Yeah, thanks. Well, you know, with the mooncakes, you know, the presentation is a big part of it. And so they need to look, you know, well prepared and pretty fancy, because typically these are given as gifts. And so
when
you want them to be impressed.
Yeah. So do I have a question for you? So is it like a gift giving thing in China in like mid-autumn for the mooncake?
Yeah, very often. Like,
is there like, are they like fancy wrapping and stuff?
I think so. Like some of like the mooncakes is a very expensive thing. Like I can find some pictures, like very fancy packing.
Yeah.
Let me see if I have some.
I think now Costco, Ni Hao, and the Lane's Market are trying to have this like kind of mooncakes.
Yeah, those just okay. Like you can eat yourself, but this thing, I don't remember the name of that. There's one of the mooncake. They have the soft, like sweet inside. Like if you put it in microwave like 20 seconds, the paste gonna melt and it's gonna taste very good. I don't remember the name of that.
Molten mooncake?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like if you warm it warm, like I don't remember the name. Let me Google it.
Like an ice cream. I've never ate that before though.
Okay, here we go. Round 2. So yeah, the lotus filling on this is slightly, it's sweet. It's not super sweet by any stretch. And it's very rich. And then with that salted duck yolk in the middle, you have this kind of contrast of this really rich, somewhat salty duck yolk, and then this, you know, fatty, sweet, kind of fragrant. The lotus has this fragrance. Like Laura tried it and she thought it was like very herbal, like almost minty. And so just very, you know, delicious, rich texture with a pleasing taste too. Somewhat exotic, I'm sure, to the American palate. But with the lotus, the American lotus around here, it's really not that exotic at all. You know, people, it's just not, people don't make stuff with it here. All right, so there we go. It kind of fits right in there. The different forms I saw on Amazon, it's like a little cylinder that you press, like a tube on the top of it. You press it down into the cylinder and you kind of press it. This is very just hands-on here. So I'm gently gonna push it. Oh yeah, this one's looking good. It's not cracking at all. Did a little bit lighter on the flour.
I
Nice.
just Googled. The name is like a lava cast mooncake. Can you guys see a picture like this?
It's a bit bright if you can like put
maybe.
Yeah, it's just so bright.
I found out it's like $88 a box on eBay.
Whoa.
That's a lot.
I'm gonna learn how to make that one next.
Yeah, you can try it. Maybe you can open a store.
I see, definitely.
This is my new dream, to open a luxurious mooncake store.
Yeah, on campus.
Nobody else has one around.
Yeah.
So yeah, here's another one. This one came out a little more smooth. Used a little bit less flour. So you see here where I'm getting a little cracking on the edges. This one, we've got nice, smooth edges. Do you all want to see another one? Oh, we're kind of getting late on time here. I think 2 is good. So from here, you're going to bake this at 350 in the oven. And this is very tender in the top. Now, this one sat a minute. But you're gonna need to egg wash these. So you also want them to be very shiny. And so the egg wash is what it's gonna do is it's gonna shine it up. You can bake it for a few minutes so it kind of crisps your image on the top there. So when you brush the egg, it will not deform that. And so it looks really good. I'm gonna just kind of try to gently put it on there. Yeah, if you just really gently pat it on there and you have a nice brush like this, you get a nice shiny coating. Try to get the edges too. And so you're gonna bake it at 350 for about 15-20 minutes. That egg yolk does need to cook in there. It is has just been preserved in salt, so you want that to cook. And then from what I read too, you want it to sit for a few days after it's been baked is the optimal time is what they're saying. But you can obviously just eat it right after you bake it and it's going to taste great. And then here are my finished products. Let me pull this out. This is what they look like when they're all baked here. Golden brown, nice and shiny. And let me cut one so you can see the center. There we go.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got the yolk right in the middle. A nice firm paste.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
The crust is even all around the top and the bottom, and it should be, you know, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick. So it's really like that crust is just giving you that golden, you know, tender caramel sugar in there, and you're getting all that flavor from the lotus. There you go. This looks delicious. I can't wait to try one.
I'm hungry already.
Yeah. Are you in Tallahassee? I'll have Young bring you one.
Yeah.
Great.
So I do have a final product over here, and I did try it. It tastes so good. My grandma used to make this at house, but like I didn't taste it for a long time. So Jesse, good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Young. All right. Well, hope you all enjoyed that demo. I definitely love learning how to make these mooncakes. Have a great time talking, and I will see you all next week.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. So Wenyi, do you have any last thought? Any?
No.
No. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's very lovely to know so much about the mooncake, and thank you, Jesse, for such a great job of cooking it. It's for me personally, growing up in China, it's really rare for me to see people cooking the cake at their home. So it's just such a delicate work, and I really appreciate Jesse's research mind. Always teach us something from Google and what is lotus look like and about Chinese and American lotus difference. Anyway, thank you so much all for joining us. I'm gonna go ahead, put everyone to the breakout room.